Welcome to another episode of Resortera Wave, a blog edition, April 13, 2023. We're recording this after, about 24 hours after Coca released his list for the upcoming April 19th game. Interesting names. Ociel Herrera stands out from Atlas, was able to catch a little bit of that game against Philadelphia last night, and interesting moves on the flank. Escurredizo, has that gambeta like the Catito a little bit. Typical players from Mexico, Aquino is in that area, Cabrito Arellano back in the day, but very similar in that style. But I think good capacities, brief conclusions. I think the list doesn't include several names. I mean, I think Diego Lainez would have been nice. Looks like Tigres didn't allow any of its players to be part of this camp. And even Monterrey, not all the players are involved. I think only two will be sent. Victor Guzman, the center back, being the notable one, alongside Jesus Gallardo, who was involved in that sort of crash or collision with Sendejas in the past weekend. Which at the end prevented Sendejas to be part of this April 19th game in Arizona. Malagon, I think Malagon will, I wouldn't say he will start in that game, but I think he does deserve a look. Maybe 45 minutes for Acevedo, 45 minutes for Malagon might be the case, depending also on the situation and how things turn out. One of the things I want to talk about in this episode, it's pretty obvious. The title says it. I think El Tri has a scoring problem. And this comes into the fold during a moment where, yes, Henry Martinez, top goal scorer in Liga MX, something that hasn't been achieved by a Mexican striker since Alan Pulido. There is that idea that, he is in his moment, he's scoring good goals for America, but I feel that he's not a national team caliber striker, and maybe he'll shut my mouth in the next months or so. But I think he's had a lot of looks in the last year, even before the World Cup, and there was nothing notable from him. And there was nothing notable from Raul Jimenez, and even Funes Mori towards the end kind of looked off as well. I think I really thought he was going to have more minutes in the World Cup, especially after that performance. I know it was Iraq in that friendly in Spain, but he looked sharp. He looked like he was well on the ball. His height, his movements were interesting. So I was very surprised that Martino didn't use more, put Funes Mori on the field a little bit more. So when you look at the options that El Tri has in the forward position or the striker position, is De La Rosa and Henry Martin. Those are your quote unquote strikers, no? I think there's a big possibility that Vega will be influential in goals for El Tri, like Antuna, like Piojo Alvarado, can end up becoming those scorers as well, but that position of a striker, and I know Santi Jimenez is doing excellent at the moment. I think Santi's living a heck of a moment, but he's still young. I think today, for example, the game against Roma, you saw a little bit of that that notion that he still has a lot to learn in his position, especially playing against three center backs. Smalling played an excellent game in that game against Feyenoord. So it was very tight. There was not that many spaces to move, to roam. You had to be very, very clinical with your passing. They were always on top of him. So those are the type of things that Santi still will need to work on. And I think it's special that he's having these moments at such a young age in Europe still. So he's still in a learning curve. That's why he's still not the number one striker for El Tri at the moment. I think you can't put that much pressure on the kid, but at the end of the day, when you look at your list of options, he stands out right now. He stands out above the rest. So the thing here that is very, very strange for me with the national team is that now that Chicharito is healthy, and that there is an idea that Coca talked with him, and there's this communication. Um, I was surprised he was left out of this list. Especially knowing that he's back. He played several minutes against Houston. I know that came off the bench, but you know my idea, or that whole idea of his presence, I think is still on the table because of his history. I don't think you can ignore that he's a top goal scorer for the national team in history. So I think he's still not retired as well. He still seems that he has a desire to play. So I think he's an option because he has a good track record. And I think when there is a lack of scoring options from the striker position, you do need Chicharito to still be involved. And another name is Victor Guzman from Chivas. I know that there's reports out there suggesting that he's not called up because of the situation, the doping situation he had with Chivas in his first phase, and then of course was suspended, and then ended up in Pachuca. Um, got his career back together, and then went back to Chivas, and it started well for Chivas until the Clásico Nacional, where he got red carded at the end of the game when it was over. It was a very, very, very not immature, but it was not the right way to get sent off, especially considering that he was suspended several games. Um, but Guzman is a type of footballer that I think El Tri would like to have, especially when it's lacking goals. So when Coca went out publicly and said that the way that he played in Chivas is not the way that he played in Pachuca, that explanation was kind of strange for me, because I think if there's a player that sort of has qualities or attributes that could have easily could have easily been in his Atlas that won the bicampeonato, it's Guzman. Guzman could have easily been plugged into that 4-4-2 that he had in Atlas, and his team would have been excellent. I know it was already excellent, and Rocha will be part of this team in April 19th, but you add in Guzman into that mix with Quiñones, with Furch, it's potent. No, so I think that idea of, well, he plays like this in Chivas, doesn't play like he played in Pachuca, is bullshit. It's bullshit. And I think this is the thing that sucks about the national team, and they have to straighten this out. They got to get the facts straight. The people are not dumb. The people understand that there's reasoning behind why these call-ups, the Chicharito one and the Guzman one, are taking so long to actually happen. It might be the case that Chicharito will never play for El Tri anymore, especially if we consider that there is a so-called ban even during the Tata Martino era. And now, I know that he's still coming off that injury, so that's understandable. But for the summer, for the Gold Cup and the Nations League, if Chicharito is playing and he's scoring goals for the Galaxy, I think he's an option, because the scoring options are not so good. Henry Martin has the April 19th game, and then probably the Nations League. I'd say the April 19th game is his test. You really have to show quality there. You really have to show that you're the number 9. If he's quiet and doesn't show anything in that game, and I know that a lot of people are going to say, well, it's a little bit molero, but there's no other test before the Nations League and the Gold Cup. So this is a test, and that's it. And then Coca will have to play with what he has and who he trusts and whatsoever. But there is a notable, in my opinion, a scoring problem. The goals might come in the summer from Orbelin, from Chucky and Vega, but a number 9 needs to be present. Number 9 that connects a little bit with the wingers, that is able to move the ball, that is confident in the box, because I think that's been lacking for El Tri. One open goal in the World Cup was bad in 2022. One open goal in 3 games. And then Chavez, of course, with a wondrous goal. Chavez will be involved in this game. But I think the problem for El Tri, if there's one thing that has to be highlighted in the upcoming game, is what's the scoring situation? Who will step up? Who will be the difference maker? Will it be Martin? I mean, everyone suggests is Martin because he's the top goal scorer in Liga MX. Well, this is the moment. This is the moment for Martin. If he doesn't show up, I don't know. I don't think he deserves a starting position, to be honest. If he doesn't show up on April 19th. But yeah, those are quick thoughts coming from me for Resortera Wave. Thanks for the watches. Thanks for everyone that has been viewing these and you know um, giving them likes and so forth. So we'll be recording more of these in the next weeks as the games happen. But yeah, look forward. Let's see if Victor Guzman from Rayados gets minutes in the April 19th game. Top talent in the center back position. The midfield, we'll see how he, uh, you know, moves around the pieces. I think Chavez will be important. I think Chiquito Sanchez will be. Maybe Nene Beltran will be in the mix. And we'll see. I think it's the game for Martin. All the eyes will be on Martin on April 19th.